treasure. Isn't that what every professor who's on vacation in the Middle East is really looking for? Artifacts that were treasure. That is what our young professor was looking at. He was searching on his vacation through the Middle East to see if he could find artifacts that he could take back and show to his classes. When a particular shop owner asked him to come on over. He went over and they talked a bit, the usual, but then the shop owner seemed to know that he was a professor looking for these artifacts. You see, they do talk amongst the shopkeepers. And this young gentleman, the shop owner, had told him that there was a certain something that he might be interested in, but that he would have to come back to the back of the shop to see it. Now, indeed, this could be very dangerous. But then again, he knew that the real stuff, not the tour stuff, would be not out front for the tourists to see, but actually in the back. This man was not known to be an artifact dealer, but there was something about this young man that seemed to entice this young professor to want to take a look. So back he went. And there he was surprised. From underneath a blanket, the young man brought out what looked to be a package, and as he unwrapped the skins that this package was in, the professor's eyes started to expand. There was a parchment roll that, just from the looks of it, was quite old. And as the young shop owner opened it up, the professor's eyes began to widen, and then he caught himself. Because this particular scroll was written in a language he knew something about. Not all the nuances and specialties, but he knew there was something about this scroll. It turned out that the shop owner, his father had owned it, and not telling his son anything about it except that it was quite valuable. And since he could not read the language, not being his native, he knew that he could possibly get a good sum for it, but he didn't know the entire value, so he kind of wanted to see what would happen. While the young professor said that he was interested and that he would take into consideration and be back tomorrow with a possible offer. But that until he heard from him, just hold it aside and he would see what he could do. The next morning, the young professor was again at the shop owner's door as he opened up. Having spent the night checking online about this particular parchment or information on it, and also transferring all that he could into traveler's checks so that he could purchase this particular parchment. He had dropped his life savings into traveler's checks, and he had gathered all that he had together to meet and bargain for the scroll. As he walked into the shop, the professor confronted the shopkeeper and gave him an offer that was laughingly low. In return, the shopkeeper gave him an offer that was stupendously high. And as they started talking to each other, the two started to come together on price. The professor knew that this particular item he would have to pay a good price for. And the shopkeeper, not knowing the value of what he had, was willing to go down further than the professor had even hoped. When all was said and done, the professor walked away with more money in his hand than he thought, and the shopkeeper was very pleased with the price he got. Later on, the professor had taken his scroll to be authenticated, and sure enough, it was an ancient scroll with valuable information. And what was this valuable information? Nothing less than where King Solomon had buried in a special tomb his prized treasury possessions from all the kings that had given to him, and its location in a land we know as Samaria.